1212, I go by the name of DJ What, and you're now listening to the original Jeek Podcast. Let's go!
Ready to make an entrance, so backward cut. Come on, cut for me.
Oh, yeah. Whoa, slow down. Whoa, speed up.
Fresh.
Making me itch.
What up, Jeeks? I am the original Jeek, host of this show, and my name is RockinMrMagic, and this is the original Jeek Podcast. We are live, bringing you back yet another dope pod, and we are breaking new ground today. We are taking a trip across the pond with our guest for today. Unfortunately, my co-host, the one and only UniqDNA, could not join us for this episode, but our guest here will definitely make up for his absence. To bring him on, I want to introduce our guest from the south coast of merry old England, Josh Phoenix.
Thanks for having me. It's going to be a pretty good time.
Absolutely, and it is my pleasure to have you. I just want to give a shout out to your man Gary for hooking us up. I've been excited to have this conversation, so shout out to him because we wouldn't have been able to link without him making the introduction.
Yeah, a lot of respect for Gary.
Yes, indeed. So to start the show, we're going to do a little segment that we all have our first-time guests go through. It's a short little Q&A. Called 5 on it, and this is gonna be 5 questions just to help our audience get to a better feel for you in your fandoms. So before we do that, though, if you could just share how anybody that might be interested in following you out on the internet can find you.
Obviously it's at Josh Phoenix. I'm on Instagram and Twitter.
All right. And in the show notes, listeners, we will have a link for you to be able to follow Josh so you can click and give him a quick follow. All right, Josh, let's start on the pitch as we both are Manchester United supporters. Who is your favorite Man U player of all time?
There's so many you could go for. Obviously, I was born early 2000s, so I wasn't able to watch the likes of Schmeichel and like the 99s and even the 60s you go back to. But for me, it had to be Wayne Rooney if I had to just pick the one. But I do have a few that are close to that.
No, Rooney's a great pick. I can't knock anybody picking Wayne Rooney, especially from your age range. So that's a fantastic pick, and I'm sure that most Man U fans would probably put Wayne in the top, probably top 15, maybe top 10, depending upon their generation and what they value in a player. No, that's an absolutely fantastic pick. I have a soft spot for Wayne Rooney myself. I really enjoyed, his time on the pitch for them. I have a couple others that I'm soft to, but he's a fantastic choice.
Yeah, he was a fantastic player when he played. Coaching, not so much.
Yeah, but a lot of great athletes don't end up being great coaches.
Yes, so, exactly that.
We can excuse Wayne for not being great on the coaching front.
Second top Premier League goal scorer. He's kind of earned that.
Yeah, absolutely. He's allowed to have a shortcoming here and there. We can't expect them all to be Superman.
Can't have it all.
No, we can't. I mean, if we had it all, then We would, I don't know if I had it all, I'd probably be, like Batman with a mix of, with somebody's powers, like, have Batman's money and I don't know, I'd pick a power set from probably like Black Lightning's powers. So it's like his power set. I don't know. That'd be like having it all. Next question. Which do you like best, Marvel or DC?
It's like asking a parent to pick a favorite child.
I mean, most parents would say they don't have one, but
Yeah,
sometimes they favor one, even if it's for a short period of time.
I'm gonna have to go with Marvel. I mean, I've got most of the things in my room and on my desk. I've been a Marvel fan since I was a kid. I like DC, but it's just Marvel tips it in some way. I don't know how.
And hey, that's understandable because I know, I mean, I love both. I grew up on both, but I lean the same way. There's something about Marvel's heroes that I think I just maybe relate more to. None of the heroes really feel overkill as far as their power set, so I feel like it's more understandable when Spider-Man gets beat down or is struggling through different things. The mental health aspect of life that's really been prevalent in a lot of comic and superhero material is always kind of I shouldn't say always, but it's been there in Marvel for a while, and just even Spider-Man dealing with with depression and anxiety, fear of what would happen to his family should his secret identity be exposed. Dealing with the depression on Gwen Stacy's death, Uncle Ben's death, Captain Stacy's death. Is the uncertainty with his parents. Like, there's so much depth in just that one character of emotions and understanding and triumph and reliance on family and friends. There's so much there below the surface of panels of punching and kicking and quips that I haven't always seen that in DC. So I think there's just been a general better emotional connection that Marvel has had with fans that DC can't boast that as much.
That's totally understandable. Like, for example, I am a massive fan of the X-Men with the new series coming out and binging that. But
So good.
The X-Men sort of showed that no matter how different you are, you can overcome sort of the prejudice and what life throws at you. So for that, I think Marvel connects better with the fans, but DC has that sort of higher level where they're sort of these invincible gods that humans look up to.
No, absolutely. I've always said that, like, when it comes to DC, like, they have 3 of the top 5 characters between Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman. Like, most people you ask to make a list, those 3 are generally in everybody's top 5. It's just after that top 5 with those 3, if you say like kind of like the NBA had their their top 50 players list, and then recently the 75. If you did that with comic heroes, you're going to have that that trinity of DCs with Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman in it. But then below that, Marvel's going to fill like spots 20 to 20 to 5, and then like it's just there's going to be a ton of Marvel characters in that underneath that, and DC is really propped up by those big 3, and after that it's a pretty shaky table that they're standing on after that, where you can just, like you said, you have the X-Men, you've got the Avengers, you've got ones that really stand alone, like Spider-Man, like Captain America. You have so much more variance, and the resurgence of the X-Men with X-Men 97, which I can't wait to talk about more in depth with recurring guest of the show, who's also a comic book writer. It's amazing what they're doing with that level of storytelling that I never thought I would see. I never thought I would see it. Like, I thought it would be something that was strictly stuck and beholden to the pages of the books, but seeing it animated it's mind blowing.
It truly is. I've enjoyed, I think it's 5 or 6 episodes now.
Yeah, 5.
Yeah, seeing, like, especially the Madeline Pryor stuff. I never thought we'd see that in live action or in animation. So the fact that they got that is incredible, and we got to see Cable's backstory as well and how he came to be.
Absolutely. And it's not a good thing for DC, because the one thing that they've had consistently over Marvel has been the animation. The animated movies have been, for the most part, excellent. Most of the shows have been good. And Marvel's have really not been a lot of focus put into them, really, as far as the animated side. So this does not spell out a good thing, with 97 being this good. It's a bad moon rising for DC. They're going to really have to make sure that their animation game stays up to the notch that it's been, because if Marvel's coming like this, they could bring in so many other X teams, let alone they could do a similar revisitation like this with Spider-Man. And there's so many other places they could go that would really continue to pull more and more eyeballs to Marvel's way, and kind of put DC farther into the rearview mirror.
Yeah, hoping with obviously James Gunn taking over DC that it's going to be quite the battle, like an uphill battle between Marvel and DC again, which is good to see for comic book fans, to see that rivalry reignited with Kevin Feige and James Gunn, 2 people that absolutely love the content and culture. So, yeah, we'll see what happens. I can't wait for Superman next year.
That's a great point. We're going to come back to that later. Next question for you. And this is more just to get an idea of your fandom and something that our listeners may be able to check out. What is your favorite, either like BBC or ITV program that you just, it's 8:00 and you got to click the telly on it. You've got to watch this show.
Currently, I don't watch a whole lot of TV. It's more streaming and video games for myself. But when I was younger, it was Merlin. The go-to was Merlin. I absolutely loved that show growing up.
Oh, that's a fantastic, fantastic show. Okay. Is there something on streaming that's really been like a big draw for you, even coming back to it?
I mean, Percy Jackson, I watched when it came out, the series with Walker Scoble, and I was hesitant at first when they announced it.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was going to be like the movies, and it was going to hit the floor before it even started running.
No, I have to confess, I have not. It's in my to watch list, but I have not pressed play on the new Percy Jackson. How good is it?
Oh, it's incredible. I read the books during my school days, but it follows along about 90%. I think
Wow.
Rick Riordan changed a few things to make it fit in a series format.
Mm-hmm.
But the actors, they just take the cake. They did it perfectly.
Wow. Okay. Well, I may have to push that up on my timetable for watching. I read the first Percy Jackson book. So if we're talking, and I'm a big stickler for, I hope things are made as close to the source material as possible. So if you're saying 90%, that sounds extremely promising. So I'm going to have to check that out on my Disney Plus. That sounds fantastic.
And Lance Reddick, he killed it as Zeus, in the final episode. I won't obviously say too much because you were on about watching it, but his performance in the very little screen time he does have blew me away.
Wow. Well, I will keep my eye out for that. Cool. Okay, so next question here. What is your favorite comic-based movie or TV show?
Oh, there's so many. I liked the Flashpoint animated movie. Obviously, you mentioned earlier DC's animated movies were like the up to scratch thing for DC. I liked the Flashpoint one.
Nice. Yes. That one was extremely well done. Absolutely.
Yeah. I think that was the first DC animated film I watched.
Okay.
As much as it shames me to say it, I've only started watching them recently in preparation for the series. But I've been doing my research and I thought they would be the place to start, and they helped big time.
Well, you're a young man, so no one should expect you to have watched that many. If you were from an older generation and you were playing catch up, that'd be something else. But we can't have an unrealistic expectation for you to have consumed all this content that's been out, especially content that's been out longer than you've been alive. So, what, just kind of, veering off of that, what other, especially even let's sticking to the DC part, what other ones have you seen that you've really, enjoyed on the DC side?
Obviously, I loved Michael Keaton's Batman stuff.
Oh, so good.
Only the first two, obviously, Clooney and Kilmer were a bit on the spotty side.
Yeah, they're not good. It's okay. You can say they're not good.
I've not seen The Flash yet. I don't plan on watching that because it retcons so much. I've obviously seen clips from it, and it just doesn't sit right. So I don't think I'll be watching Flash.
I'm gonna say this. I had little desire to see Flash, mainly primarily because of Ezra Miller. I wasn't going to put any money in Ezra Miller's pocket, so I waited till it was on streaming, and I said, I kind of need to see the movie because I knew Michael Keaton was going to be in it. And for listeners who haven't heard my full review, there's an episode from end of last season in the archives you can listen to for my full review on The Flash. I would just say to you, because I don't want to spoil it, watching it for Michael Keaton, to me, is worth the time investment just for his part of the film.
I might give it a watch at some point. Obviously, I've got a lot on the watch list.
Yeah, it doesn't have to go straight to the top. And if anything, you could even skip to his part. But I think and honestly, I'll tell you this: watching his parts of the movie really gave me hope that maybe we could get, before he's definitely way too old, but maybe we could get a Batman Beyond movie with Keaton as old Bruce before it's too late.
Oh, I would love that. I love the Batman Beyond animated movie. I loved that. And to have Batman Beyond be one of the projects, even under James Gunn, that would be incredible.
Yes. Yeah, and trust me, you will have that. You watch just Michael Keaton in The Flash, and you'll be like, yeah, I need this Batman Beyond thing with Keaton. I need it now.
I'm walking up to James Gunn's office excuse me, we need
this. Excuse us, Mr. Gunn. Yes, we need to change something in your plans here because, we've got ideas.
Well, he said he was going to do the Elseworld stuff, obviously with Pattinson's, which I only recently watched because my brother said about I need to watch it to understand the Batman character. And I didn't want to watch it because Robert Pattinson, for me, because I like Harry Potter, I see him as Cedric Diggory.
You see Cedric Diggory, yeah.
But when I watched it, I was like, this is no longer Cedric Diggory.
No, it's definitely not Cedric. He's definitely not Edward or whatever his name was in Twilight. It's definitely different. Yeah, I wasn't the biggest fan of the film, but Pattinson, to his credit, did a good job.
He certainly did. My favourite performance, though, would have to be Colin Farrell as Penguin. He did fantastic.
And see, I have to say that was one of the things I liked the least, and not because of Colin Farrell, because he did his job, and I don't think he did poorly in any way. I think he did very well, actually. My things, I don't like Italian gangster Penguin. That is not a version of the Penguin that I enjoy. So that was my issue with it. I prefer traditional Penguin as his own criminal boss, speaking extremely eloquently, using a vernacular that is much higher level than the average person. That's the type of Penguin that I enjoy. This guy just sounds like a atypical, mobster. It just is not. It's not my vibe.
I get that. Like, obviously, with the popularity of The Godfather in the 90s and Goodfellas, I think maybe the director tried to play off the influence of that.
We'll see what happened. So the Batman is kind of loosely. It's not loosely, but it's kind of based off of the Batman Year One. In that run, the Penguin is like that, is like a Italian mobsters type. So they were very similar to that source material that they were deriving from. It's just not a version of the Penguin that I personally enjoy. So again, that's nothing against Farrell. I think he did a great job with what he was given. I just don't like that. Personally, don't like that version of Penguin.
Yeah, I get that, because obviously in the comics he had the weird pipe thing, and he was very much higher class of Gotham.
Yes, and it's and that's part of his own his own flair that makes parts of what makes Penguin unique. And I just kind of feel that making him an atypical mobster takes away from what makes Penguin unique.
Yeah, I get that. Like making him too close to Carmine Falcone or Maroni, for example, you blend in with the crowd, and you want Penguin to stick out.
Yeah, Penguin should be is supposed to be one of those top level, members of Batman's Rogues Gallery, compared to, the organized crime guys like Falcone, like a Rupert Thorne, or any of those guys that are just kind of street level gangsters, or even the corporate CEO levels of organized crime. Like those aren't rogues to me. Penguin is a part of the Rogues Gallery, so that's why I was like, it just doesn't feel the place where Penguin should be. But that's also part of that is my age, and watching that type of Penguin for 40 years. That's part of the reason why I prefer that style over, something that's still relatively newer.
Yeah, that makes sense. Like, obviously, a lot of different iterations of all these different characters. Batman was introduced in the 40s. Over just under 100 years ago. There's going to be some mix in the formula.
Right. Absolutely. And from where it's gone from the 40s, 30s, especially like Joker, Penguin in the 70s. In the 70s itself was a very kind of a goofy, time for the 60s and 70s really were definitely a goofy, slapsticky time for Batman and his rogues. It got darker in the 80s and into the 90s. And I think, the perfection for Batman really happened in the 90s, early 90s with Batman, the animated series. I don't think there's a better Batman property that exists, whether it's film, whether it's comic, graphic novel. I think it is the quintessential peak of Batman content that has ever been created. Personally,
I get, like Michael Keaton was a good Batman, but for me, Kevin Conroy is Batman.
Yeah, like if I'm reading a Batman comic, I'm hearing Conroy's voice in my head.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly
I mean,
that.
that's absolutely what that's. It's his voice is synonymous with Batman. For me, Mark Hamill's voice is synonymous with Joker. I look at the Penguin, and if I see a picture of the Penguin, I hear the Penguin theme from Batman the Animated Series in my head. Like that is, to me, that's how excellent that. Those, I think 4 seasons where it was just peak.
Yeah, I think.
All right, last question I've
animated.
got here for you. He's supposed to be quick, but sometimes he's a little bit quick. What is your favorite comic hero based video game?
See, I was tied between 2. It's got either Arkham or Spider-Man. You've got to sort of pick between the 2. Obviously, I love Arkham Knight, one of my favorite video games ever. I really enjoyed Gotham Knights as well, but I have to go with the PS4 version of the first Insomniac Spider-Man.
Yeah, Spider-Man's so good. It is really amazing.
No pun intended.
Yeah, or it's also spectacular.
Some could say astonishing.
Or astonishing. Or then sometimes, I start playing and I just can't get out. It's like I'm stuck in a web of Spider-Man.
Yeah, I loved the first one. I've not got to play the second one yet, but when that hits PC, I think I probably will. But I just loved, like, all the casting was done perfectly. Yuri Lowenthal is now the go-to Spider-Man.
Yes.
For the voicing with Marvel Rivals coming out. I noticed in the trailer that it was his voice. But yeah, all the casting was done brilliantly. The story was spectacular. I just loved every minute of it. I never got bored.
And you're still waiting for 2. And 2, I've only played the demo of 2, and if it wasn't for the fact that I spent too much on Final Fantasy games recently, I would have gotten 2 as well and been playing that. But just watching 2, I was just like, man, this looks like it's going to be twice as good as Spider-Man was.
Yeah, I've seen, obviously my brother has played it all the way through. He did say it was a bit quick-paced. Like, it was a bit too finish. Yeah.
Okay.
But from what I've seen from the clips and seeing him play it, the villains like Venom and Kraven are done to the T.
Yeah, that's what I've heard too. That's what has me, so excited. 'Cause I'm a big fan of the Venom storylines and the interaction, between Spider-Man and Venom, and then having Miles in the mix is just something I really am looking forward to playing.
I'm surprised Miles didn't mention, obviously in the spin-off game which I've played, he called his electric powers Venom. So when Peter starts referring to his symbiote as Venom, he's like, hold up, that's a copyright, that's my thing.
Yeah, he has his Venom sting, and then,
A court battle between Venom and Miles Morales in the next game.
Yeah, that is I'm highly anticipating that. It's just, I've been keeping away from so much of it. Like, I haven't been watching people stream it on Twitch just because I've been trying to keep it as fresh as possible for myself. But I'm so highly anticipating just that the gameplay, the story, and like I said, I've heard nothing but I've ever heard any. I shouldn't say just nothing but good things. Like I haven't heard anybody say anything bad about it. Even like what you mentioned, your brother is saying the quickness. That's the only thing that's even a little negative that I've heard is people like, yeah, it's fast, and if you're really playing it, you can go through it kind of quickly, but you're still getting like 30 hours of story based gameplay out of it, which honestly isn't that quick.
No, like most games nowadays, it's you have to have that story that hooks you in the first couple of hours to be able to hit that sort of 30, 40 hour playthrough sort of mark.
All right. Well, that is going to end our initial 5 questions with Josh. Josh, thanks to you for sharing insight into your fandom there. It's really cool to get a better insight into what makes you tick as a fan. And we're going to jump into our segment that's called What Are You PWC, which stands for Playing, Watching, and Creating. And this segment is going to be a lot of what we're focusing on. So listeners, one of the things that was really cool that Josh's friend Gary, who connected us, like I mentioned earlier, was interested in having us talk about is because Josh is a creator in the midst of working on a creation that is DC Comics based at this time. And we're going to have Josh go a bit into detail as far as his process and what he's working on as he's currently still in the process of creating it. But before we go deeper into the creation part, share with us what what video games you're playing. What are you watching on, what you're watching on stream or, streaming networks? What have you been consuming yourself lately?
In terms of video games, I've been hooked on Football Manager. I've done like 6, 7 playthroughs of the new one already. I've been absolutely hooked on that. And 2K as well, the WWE 2K24. I got that about a week ago. And that's been good fun to play.
How good is, I haven't bought a WWE game in a few years just because they seem to have been just the same thing reskinned. But how good is it? How good is the gameplay? Like, the storyline such, is it worth dropping money on it?
They rebought special guest referees back. Casket matches are back. And the roster is huge. Like, I see myself on the character selection screen for about 10 minutes trying to pick someone.
Oh, wow.
And the gameplay is so smooth. There's so much you can do now. The springboarding is next level. You can carry people around all over the place. And it really does just top any other game that they've released prior.
Nice. Okay.
In terms of watching, I've been obviously hooked on X-Men 97, Bad Batch for the Star Wars series. I've been trying to binge Game of Thrones. I'm ashamed to say that I've not seen that all the way through yet.
Oh, wow. Okay. Where are you so far in Thrones?
I think season 5 or 6. I don't know if I think I finished season 5 with, obviously, Cersei's Walk of Shame.
Okay.
But I think that's as far as I got. My dad suggested it. And he said that I'd really enjoy it. And I have so far. Tyrion's by far one of my favourite characters.
Oh, absolutely. Oh, man. Tyrion is such a well-written and expertly performed character. It's hard to find fault at all with the character of Tyrion and the performance of Peter Dinklage.
I love Peter Dinklage. He was in X-Men Days of Future Past as well, which I loved. He played Bolivar Trask. And people didn't even bat an eyelid that obviously he wasn't like Bolivar Trask in the comics, obviously being of a dwarf stature, but he just blew everyone away with the performance so that people didn't take notice.
True. And, and his stature doesn't really change much of the character. So, a lot of the hardcore nitpicker type fans, didn't care either.
No, that's exactly sort of the point that I think he tried to do with that. I think that was his plan to sort of, obviously, he said that he doesn't see himself as a dwarf actor. He sees himself as just an actor.
Yeah. And he carries himself that way.
Whereas the likes of Warwick Davis, for example, he will play off of the fact that he has dwarfism.
Right.
Like when Willow came back not too long ago. I really enjoyed that series. But it was quite the watch. I actually had myself Googling whether there was going to be another episode because I was that hooked.
And unfortunately, you can't watch it at all. I mean, at least here in the States, they pulled it from Disney Plus streaming.
No. Well, they pulled Willow from Disney Plus in America.
Yeah.
Oh man.
And I was a fan, of the original back in the 80s. And then I was like, oh, I should check out the new show. And then I saw a article talking about it, and they were like, yeah, they're removing it from Disney Plus. Looks like they removed it last year in May. They removed it.
Did they specify why they removed it?
I don't recall why. I know with the library merging between Disney Plus and Hulu, there was a removal purge.
See, that's not happening over here in the UK. Hulu's not coming to Disney Plus in the UK, so it's sort of different audiences get different sort of things. And I was quite disappointed about that because Wonder Woman would have been on Disney Plus.
Yeah.
And I liked that movie.
That would have looked strange.
Yeah, Marvel and DC on the same streaming service. Only Netflix are allowed to do that.
Right. And I still don't know how they get away with that.
No idea.
Yeah, okay. So, yeah, that would have made that really interesting. So you were able to still watch it. So I would hear you'd have to find, sites of ill repute to watch Willow.
It's definitely worth the watch. I mean, obviously, I've seen only clips from the original. As bad as that is, I went straight into the series. But I now need to go back and watch the original.
The original is, I enjoy it. Part of it is definitely, it was a part of my youth. So part of it's definitely nostalgia. I can't say, I can't say how well it holds up. And it's definitely, I don't have the perspective of someone much younger watching it. But I mean, I enjoy it. And since you enjoy you enjoyed the show, I would imagine you would enjoy the movie for what it is, and not expect too much as far as, the special effects and such go, because it is, a movie that's almost 4 years old.
Well, yeah, I like old-fashioned movies. Like, obviously, I've seen the clips from Willow, the original, but I enjoy, because it's Lucasfilm, I enjoyed, obviously, New Hope and all the earlier works. I love 70s and 80s movies.
Okay.
And I think they have a certain type of quality. I was talking to my significant other the other day about this. How new films are a lot longer and have you sitting there for hours on end. But retro movies have that sort of quality that hooks you in, and it has a quicker story and it has a quicker conclusion.
No, absolutely. There was a particular, I don't want to say formula, because they weren't all on the same formula, but there was definitely a time where, especially late 70s, 80s, early 90s, where there was the stories were drawing you in very well, keeping you fixed upon the story, and whether the special effects were great or not, it kind of didn't matter because the story was really good. So whether the effects were really good, like in a Star Wars or Star Trek, or if the effects weren't the very best, even like Back to the Future had good effects, but they weren't the very best. They didn't really, it didn't negatively impact the story really. I mean, the person's enjoyment of the movie. It didn't take you out of the experience, because the story was so good and the effects were solid enough to keep you really intrigued and moving forward with the story.
Yeah, I think directors back then and directors now have a very different viewpoint on how films should be made.
Oh, I mean, absolutely. It's a different generation. I mean, it seems like, and I can speak because I was around back then, but like it seemed like every big movie was like a Steven Spielberg film. Like, I think of all the movies he did just in the decade of the 80s itself that were just fantastic. And you think of the actors that dominated that decade, whether it's Harrison Ford ending the 70s, with Star Wars and Raiders of the Lost Ark, and then going into the 80s with Temple of Doom, with Last Crusade, and then obviously Empire and Return of the Jedi. You had E.T. in the 80s. There were just so many films and franchises that were just extremely good, strong franchises that went through the late 70s, 80s into the early 90s that are still so beloved that people want more and more of that content. Like we're going to get a new Aliens movie. Aliens from that time frame. We're going to get another Beverly Hills Cop movie. We had a second Coming to America movie. We've had we were getting, even though it's a different title, we've had 3 Rocky spinoff movies. Like there's just so many from that time frame that have a certain nostalgia, but is still fresh enough for the younger audiences to enjoy those fandoms as well. It's actually really amazing how a lot of properties from that time frame are just still doing so well and are still in demand.
Ghostbusters, especially, even recently. Apparently, the Frozen Empire is supposedly quite good, so I might have to check that out.
Yeah, that's another one. Ghostbusters is another one on top of it, just again from that era. It's a really cool thing to watch, and just as for yourself, as someone who creates, who writes, that's got to be inspiring for you, to as you work on on your craft and as you write. That has to be something that kind of gives you an extra added motivation when you're creating.
Oh, definitely. I'm hoping that, I say nostalgia, but the effect of the heroes such as Batman, Superman, all these heroes that have had decades of fans that are now hopefully going to enjoy this, like my take on the heroes and their stories.
Absolutely. So share with us a little bit as far as what you're working on. And I only know the little bit of detail that Gary shared with me. So share with us, a little bit, actually a little bit more, a lot more, on what you're working on.
Working on a DC Comics audio drama for Spotify. It'll be original stories by myself, and they'll be loosely sort of little moments from different comics taken for the stories, but I'm not gonna like stick to a certain comic.
Okay.
Season 1 will just be 7 episodes focusing on each member of the Justice League, with the finale being them teaming up to face a threat that none of them can face alone. And I'm hoping to have several seasons of this and hoping people will enjoy it, as I've wanted to do this for 4 years now. I've just had no way of putting it out there.
Wow, so you're working directly with Spotify on this.
It's working with, hopefully, this is still a
Still
50-50.
in the works.
It's still in the works to be working with, I don't know if you've heard of Carl Dutton, the Cycle
Yes.
Lot. Yeah, it'll be working alongside them, hopefully, if he likes the trailer that I'm trying to put together currently.
Wow, that's really cool. Well, I mean, I know there has been some pretty decent success on the audio drama side, particularly I forget the specific title of it, but there's the X-Men audio drama that was pretty popular on Spotify.
That is Carl Dutton's one.
Yeah,
that's the Scyther dramas.
Yeah, that's where I heard the name from, the X-Men, the audio drama. It was so good, and it kept me. I know when I stumbled upon it, I was looking for some new type of podcast to listen to that was story based, because the D&D podcast I used to listen to, that was very story based. They stopped producing new episodes, so I came upon X-Men, the audio drama, and I was like, I'm an X-Men fan. Let me press play. And I think I was in the 3rd episode, and I was like, well, I'm still listening to this. I haven't been doing anything I'm supposed to be doing. Let me put my AirPods in and just try to get some stuff done while I still listen to this. And it was so good. It was performed so well. We mentioned X-Men 97 earlier. It had a lot of the vibes that X-Men 97 is giving us, with the ties and the obviously like a love story, to the 90s animated series. So that was just, really super cool. So, you're right. I mean, to that level, or with that in that vein, that's super. One, I mean, it's super exciting, and two, it's just got to be, an honor to hopefully be, working with Carl, and and his team.
Yeah, the teams, I've made such good friends, and obviously Gary being one of them. But I've met so many people with such passion for something that I've had for many, many years. And to have this sort of way to output my ideas and my stories that I've had, I found a script draft for my Batman episode that I'm doing currently. It was dated 2019 when it was first made. And I just thought that was insane that I've been thinking about doing this since 2019. And now I have a way to put it out there and entertain people.
No, that's dope. As someone who's been trying to write myself here and there, I have a screenplay that I started before you were born, probably, or close to it, that, unfortunately I haven't finished. But, sometimes you write something and you start something and and it sits there, you don't pitch it, you're not sure. And then you eventually, have an opportunity, you present it, and it's, it's the right time, it's the right opportunity. So, hey, 2019, you had a passion to write a script, to write a story, and, you are getting closer to going across the finish line with it, which is, that's just super awesome, and super exciting. So you said 7 episodes, and focus on the Justice League. What can you share about the Batman episode you mentioned that you're writing right now? Obviously, don't want you to spoil the creation, but what can you share with us, if anything, on your Batman story?
This Batman story will focus a lot on, like, the main narrative will be fear.
Okay.
And I'm trying to write Scarecrow as the main villain. a character who I think has never truly been given his due diligence.
Okay.
So hopefully I can get that done right. But I am also weaving in, and I won't say too much, but setups to future projects. Like I'm including certain characters that will pop up later in better stories. But
Playing seeds. All right. Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, that's what fans really are, in my opinion, fans are really hoping for. And I think Marvel, with the MCU, really set us up for that, as well as, certain comic events that have tied into others that have set us up for that. House of M, M Day tying into Civil War and things like that. Like, we've been conditioned through comics and now on the big screen to, for Easter eggs, for seeds planted for future events, for tie-in to greater stories. So I'm glad to hear that you are writing with the, intent and purpose of continuing with bigger and longer story arcs.
I can't wait for people to hear this. I've had people that have like degrees in film. Gary, for example, again, he has some form of qualification in film and this sort of area, and he says that the script is quite. I don't know how he quite worded it, but he said it was intriguing. I think his words were. So hopefully people enjoy it.
Yeah, absolutely. So what members of the Justice League are getting their own individual episodes as you write to tie into them coming together?
So if I remember the order, I probably don't.
The order's not important. Just wondering who's in it.
Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, obviously the Trinity we mentioned earlier. Hal Jordan's Green Lantern, Barry Allen's Flash, because I have plans for the other Lanterns and Flashes. Aquaman, and Martian Manhunter will be on the team, but will not have his own episode. I want to keep him sort of a mystery for later seasons.
Okay.
But he'll be sort of the one that ties everyone together and brings together the team to fight the greater threat.
Okay. So 6-person team, and the main 5 and then a 6-person team. Okay. That's what's up. That's nice. I like that. A particular reason that you went with Hal Jordan's Green Lantern over John Stewart's?
I wanted to bring Hal in first to sort of lay the groundworks and have the Green Lanterns be this thing, like an iPop type thing, where he's sort of this immature, doesn't quite know what's going on, is fascinated by everything. Whereas John Stewart doesn't really have that sort of mentality. He would sort of be down to earth, be thinking like where not to step to set something off.
No, absolutely. They're very different in their mindsets and approaches of things. No, that's cool. I have no problem starting with Hal. I personally myself, if I was writing something like you are, that's kind of starting from the beginning, I would also start with Hal. Even though I like John more, I would start with the OG personally as well. So I don't knock that. I don't knock that at all. As you're writing, and you're drafting and writing treatments or for your scripts and such, and you're gathering your thoughts. Are there particular versions of each character that you are drawing more inspiration out of? For example, like Aquaman, are you thinking more, 60s Aquaman? Are you thinking mid 90s Aquaman with the hand cut off and the mini Triton on his hand, with the beard? Or are you thinking, late 2000s Aquaman? Like, is there a certain version of each hero that you are trying to convey a little bit more than others?
I'm trying to sort of get a mix between the best aspects of the performances.
Okay.
Like with the 60s Aquaman, it was this guy who rides a seahorse. I might bring the seahorse in at some point, but there is no way I'm having that character. I will sort of more, not so much have Jason Momoa in there,
Mm-hmm.
but it will be like in the 90s animated Justice League. I think that's the sort of character I'll go for in terms of Aquaman. And I do think that Barry Allen has been sort of given Wally West's personality. Barry isn't this like childish, over hyper character. He was more, how do I put it? He was stern, but he still had that childishness to him.
Well, yeah. Barry had traditionally Barry had, I wouldn't say childish, I would say curiosity. He was a scientist, so he had that scientist type of curiosity to discover new things, wondering how things work, why things work the way they work, which we all kind of naturally have as children, and it's something Barry's character traditionally never let go of.
Yeah, but like I say, he was given, because Wally West became the more popular Flash.
Yes, he did.
They gave Barry his personality to try and make the OG a little bit more popular.
Right.
And I think that sort of backfired because now nobody really can distinguish the two.
That's a great point. I definitely agree with that. And they've unfortunately in a lot of DC's decision making when it comes to characters is they've done a lot of that of character trait poaching, where they take one that is more popular or less popular, and they give them the characteristics of a more popular character in the hopes of improving the ratings or readership or whatever. It's like for example, I told a person on their show, we were talking about the show Arrow, and he was like, I don't understand how you don't like Arrow. And I said, well, that's because it's not Green Arrow. Like Green Arrow, the character you see on television is nothing like the character of Oliver Queen. I said, what you're watching is Batman dressed as Green Arrow.
Yeah.
He's doing Batman things, saying Batman things. They even took Batman's story arc, storylines. I was like, Oliver Queen was never trained by the Assassins League. Like he had no interaction with Ra's al Ghul in any way, shape, form, or fashion. Like you're watching Batman with a green hood. That's why you like it. And he was like, oh, really? And I'm like, think about it. Think of this story. Those are Batman stories. Those aren't Green Arrow stories. And he was like, wow, like you're right. Like I never realized that. And it's a shame because it does take away from the qualities of those characters that made them unique, made them special, even though some of those qualities may not be as viewed as popular, as times changes, society changes, thoughts change, misogynistic characters are not as popular as they used to be. And there's nothing wrong, and that's okay. Like that's not a bad thing. But changing a character's subtleties, as far as, especially when it comes to mannerisms like you expressed between Barry and Wally, those aren't changes that need to be made, because that really makes those characters blend. And it's hard enough to tell which Flash is which when their costumes look so similar when you're reading a book. If you change the character traits that make them unique, then it's like, well, which one am I even like? Why do I care that there's more than one then? Then why don't I just have one if they're so similar?
Yeah, like you say, with Oliver Queen being Batman in the Arrow, on the Arrow project, I was talking to someone at work about that, and I do have plans for Oliver Queen at some point, and I will be reading a lot of his comics in the lead up to that.
Well, that leads into my next question. My next question was going to be, how much reading of the books are you doing in preparation to help you with your own writing?
Oh, so many different books. Big one for episode 1 that I'm reading is Batman Kings of Fear.
Oh, okay.
I've been
good
reading
one.
that religiously, back to front to back, to try and get Scarecrow spot on so I don't get it wrong and go down along with Cillian Murphy's.
Yeah, I feel bad for Cillian for that.
Yeah, no shot to Cillian.
You can only do with what you've been given. He wasn't given, unfortunately, much to work with.
No, definitely not. I do like Cillian as an actor, but his Scarecrow, it was just...
it was bad.
Yeah.
It was bad. Like, let's not sugarcoat it. It was bad. Not his fault, but it was bad. It was poorly written. And you can only acting talent can only do so much to save a poorly written character. That's just the long and short of it. It was bad. Is there so with the reading that you're doing, are there books that you have not read previously that you're really excited to really dive into as you are, essentially researching for your own writing here?
I'm very much trying to dive into the best comic iterations of every single character.
Okay.
I don't know like specific titles. I'll do research close to the episode, but I have had comics stacked on my desk. I've had them as sort of digital forms on my PC, and I've been just religiously reading non-stop. I want the best out of this series so that people will enjoy it.
Absolutely. And on top of reading, are you also pulling any from some of the aforementioned TV or film versions that we discussed, or are you strictly looking to the comics to drive the character narrative that you're hoping to glean from?
I'm trying to sort of like mainly comic books to base the characters around, to make them my own. But if there is something that has been covered in a movie or a TV show that I like, I will try and sort of maybe reference that or have it there in some form.
So, for example, like if you happen to find the let's see, what's an example? If you happen to find the bat repellent shark, the shark repellent bat spray, something particularly entertaining, you would find a way to incorporate that gag, slowly, slightly into your story, just kind of as a nod, an homage to to the Adam West version of Batman, without making it a focal point.
Well, yeah, I might have one of the Robbins mention that in the treasure room of the Batcave. Like, how about we use this? And he holds up the bat spray or something, and Batman just says, no, we don't need that where we're going. I have an Easter egg to Robert Pattinson's Batman, because the car that my Batman drives, like the Bruce Wayne version, the one he drives around in the daytime, is a 1969 Dodge Charger, which is what Matt Reeves' Batmobile was.
Okay.
Just a little clever Easter egg there for people that know their cars.
Yeah. Nice. That's a nice Charger.
It really was. I want one.
Yeah. I mean, I'm a Michigan native, so American muscle cars are a soft spot for me. So, no, that's really cool. Of the of the Justice League characters that you're writing in particular here for this story, is there a particular one that you are most excited to be writing for, I should say?
I would have to go with Green Lantern. I don't know why. I've always had a soft spot for the Green Lantern Corps. And one of my favorite villains in comic books is Sinestro.
Mm.
Now, I can't wait to write his story properly and not just speed him into being the Yellow Lantern. I want to write it properly and obviously have Parallax whispering in his ear the spirit of the Yellow Lanterns and have that prevalent throughout Hal and maybe John's episodes as well. Have that sort of corrupting whisper of Parallax come through and take Sinestro over to the Yellow Lanterns.
Sinestro deserves so much better than what we got. Yeah, I'm not even going to harp on that debacle. Just going to say that it sounds like with you, Sinestro is safe in your hands because unfortunately he was not safe in others.
No, definitely not. Don't make the Super Suit Green or animated movie that we won't talk too much about.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. No, that is super cool. So along this is just I'm gonna throw a little what if in there. Let's say it goes not just as well as we hope, but it goes better for you than we hope. Where if they say to you, Josh, this is fantastic. We really like where you're going with this. Not only you're going to get a season 2, like you're going to get a season 3, and maybe we can continue beyond that. But we have to incorporate a major comic event into the story. What comic event DC event would you pull into the stories that you're telling with your audio drama? If DC Spotify said, you know what, let's keep going, but you have to plug in this particular storyline, which would it be?
I would have to say Crisis or the Injustice storyline. I love both those stories, like Injustice, seeing that side of Superman and seeing him as more of a dictator than a symbol for hope. I would love to write that.
Nice. Okay. That storyline always intrigued me as well. I definitely thought it made for better books than the game. Unfortunately, to me, didn't give enough justice as far as showing how cool the story behind the game really was.
They definitely need to do a third one.
I'm kind of surprised that they haven't. To be perfectly honest, I was really shocked that they didn't do a third game yet.
Supposedly they are working on a third one, but that's hearing through the grapevine. I won't believe it until I hear something from NetherRealm.
MK's out, so there's no reason to not be working on it. That's man, no reason. If you're listening, y'all could be working on this. Fans are waiting. Injustice fans are looking for more. Awesome. Well, Josh, thank you for that insight into your creation of a Justice League audio drama. When could we expect to potentially listen to episode 1?
I am trying to get episode 1 out as soon as possible. I'm still, I think, about quarter to halfway through the script at the minute.
Okay.
I keep hitting roadblocks. I'm rushing around in real life as well. So I'm trying to get it done as soon as possible so people can obviously listen and enjoy. But I don't really know a date that I can put on it at the moment.
Okay. Are you aiming for a particular time, like seasons? Are you aiming for like summer? Are you aiming for like a fall release?
I think it will be out hopefully by June, July. I don't really want to have it come out too far ahead and it lose traction. Because when I made the announcement in the groups I'm in, everyone jumped on that So I don't want it to lose that sort of momentum that it has.
No, absolutely. That makes sense. And a summer release is definitely good because, people generally have a little bit more time on their hands. And if you can get the under 18, crowd here in the U.S., any school age kids that are not doing too much during the summertime, an audio drama, DC audio drama would be a really cool thing for them to be able to listen to and engage with their, hopefully their parents or fans and engage with them on as a good way to continue traction as you release and go on through the summer into the fall.
Absolutely. I can't wait for people to be able to, like, as you said at the beginning on socials, to be able to message me and be like, do you have any roles coming up? Like when I put casting calls out, this will be something where the fans themselves can audition. I've had auditions for episode 1 already. I'm now in the process of casting as well.
Wow. Okay. So listeners, definitely keep up with Josh and, support the show as it comes out. Because if you are an aspiring or potential voice actor or a professional voice actor, could be a role here for you.
I've had so many fans that are just coming into the voice acting business absolutely blow me away with potential voices for these characters. And I'm having a tough time picking certain characters.
I mean, there's a lot of talent out there, and with the advent of technology allowing us to connect, across borders, where before you had to go locally or within, a state, province, country. But now, I mean, you're in the UK, I'm in the States. 20 years ago, this was a whole lot harder to do. So, you having people that are excited fans that want to put their own personal mark on the show with their talent, that's super cool. That's very, very exciting. All right, that's going to conclude What Are We PWC here with Josh Phoenix. And Josh, thank you so much for sharing those insights. This is I'm super excited for you, but I really can't wait to listen to episode 1 when it drops, and I will definitely be keeping in touch with you as you progress. And if you have if you have any updates to share as you're working on the script, I will definitely share with our community here at Jeek Nation on how you are progressing and leading up to the release. But before I let you go, before we end the show, I've got a couple other questions here in just random fandom, not random fandoms, but in Jeek related fandoms here that I kind of wanted to ask. I think some, because based on conversations I've had with other people, some things I wanted to ask someone like yourself, a friend of ours from across the pond. The first question I have for you here as we wind down is, how do UK football fans feel about the Apple TV drama Ted Lasso?
I've personally not seen Ted Lasso yet. Again, huge long watch list I need to do. But from what I have seen, it is hilarious. It's a satire look at what we enjoy. The world of football, with characters being modelled off of certain people.
Yeah.
With Roy Kent being Roy Keane.
I'm sorry.
But yeah, having that sort of player that doesn't care if he gets a card, he just wants to be able to win the game by any means necessary. I just feel that Ted Lasso is absolutely brilliant, and I can't wait to watch it.
Well, that's refreshing to hear, because I was always I enjoyed the show personally. I never thought I would enjoy. I've never seen Jason Sudeikis in anything that I liked, so I really didn't have any high hopes of something that he wrote being something I enjoyed. But I was pleasantly surprised, and I mean, I can only speak from my fandom as a USA based football fan, someone who watches the Premier League regularly compared to most people here in the States. So some of the characterizations that I perceive obviously gonna be different from how you perceive them, but I was like, these, from my perception, and everything seemed to be done pretty tastefully. Like, they didn't really go too overboard with how fans react, at stadiums. I thought personally, and I would love to hear what you think once you were able to actually watch the show, but I really thought they did a good job of capturing a lot of the environment of a football match, and gave us all sampling of the level of passion that a lot of fans have. And also, but for the fans of the smaller clubs that aren't always at the top of the Premier League, and it did it. In just a little spoiler, they do talk about teams being deregulated, which interesting enough sparked a debate here in the United States over adopting that into professional sports over here, which is something that I have advocated for in the past. So I really think, from my limited view, I think it did a good job of really showing the Premier League and football and those fans in a comedically slightly exaggerated way, but also very lighthearted and very warm-hearted way of going about the ins and outs of a football club.
Yeah, like a football club, what you see on the pitch is not what's going on backstage.
Right.
You have all the way from the manager up to the owners and everything in between. It shows all of that from what I've seen.
Absolutely. Going back to the pages of comics here. If you were building a UK-based superhero team, which heroes would you choose? I'm not going to limit you to DC or to Marvel. You can pick any 5 heroes that you would add to a superhero team that will be based out of the UK.
Oh, good God. I have to, obviously, in charge, you have to be Captain Britain. I don't see anyone else leading that team. Another Marvel one, I'd pick Black Knight. Not one many people know until Eternals came out.
Which is a shame, because, Dane is a pretty cool character, in my opinion.
Struggling to think of English heroes now.
Let's see.
Reach across to like DC and try and pick a couple of them out so it's not Marvel dominated. Let me have a look at my displays and see if I've got anyone up there. Technically, Charles Xavier was English.
Yeah, I mean, let's say Xavier is technically English, and also, I would say, if maybe not, even if he's not officially part of the team, but like if you're going kind of like an Avengers style route, your team's butler would have to be Alfred Pennyworth.
Oh yeah, big time. Sort of that Jarvis character.
Correct, absolutely.
Edwin Jarvis was also English.
That's true. Yes, the real Jarvis. For those fans who are not old enough to know, Jarvis originally is a person, not a computer AI, not an AI, but an actual person.
Who else can we do? So who have I got so far? I've got Captain.
So if we're counting Xavier, we got Xavier, Captain Britain, and Black Knight.
So that's 3 of the 5. Oh my God. This is so difficult. Where's Spider UK? I know Spider-Man has a UK variant. I like
yeah, Spider-Punk is British, yeah.
Oh, we'll go Spider-Punk then. I forgot about him for a second. Although I did like Hobie in Across the Spider-Verse, he was fun.
Oh, Hobie was great. Hobie was so good.
Yeah, Hobie, you're not helping. Good.
Yeah, Hobie was a lot of fun.
And I'm trying to I was just thinking about John Constantine.
Yeah, Constantine's British.
Is
Yeah.
he?
Yeah.
Oh, well, I'll have him then. He'll bring the power that we need.
Yeah, and he'll bring this, a lot of the supernatural side. Okay, so that's 5.
Yeah, I would have gone with Moon Knight with one of his personalities being English, but I thought that was cheating.
Yeah, split personality. Because he's technically not from there, so. But definitely, yeah, I wouldn't have been mad if you out there though, because at least that's thinking on your feet there. That's definitely thinking creatively. All right, what athlete? If you had to pick one athlete who would be the Doctor's companion for a Christmas adventure, what athlete would you have jump in the TARDIS and go on an adventure?
Oh my god! You need someone that can keep up with the Doctor and So who is it at the moment? It's Ncuti Gatwa, isn't it?
Ncuti Gatwa, that's correct.
I've not seen Doctor Who since David Tennant, so.
Oh wow!
I know. Being English, that's disgraceful. I know.
Oh, it's permitted. I mean, there's so many things here in the States that people are like, "Oh, this is so good," and I'm like, "Yeah, I haven't seen that." So it's okay.
If I could pick any athlete
that you would think would just have an interestingly fun, kooky, odd time with the Doctor. Who can you just imagine? It'll be really interesting to watch that person run around with the Doctor at Christmas time.
I'm going to say, and it's a weird one, but Seth Rollins.
Seth freaking Rollins.
I think with his brand of humor, it would just be absolutely wild.
Okay, I did not expect that at all, and I absolutely love it. I could just see Seth Rollins and the Doctor running around. The Daleks come out of everywhere, out of nowhere, and they're in a building, and the Doctor's trying to figure out a way to deal with the Daleks in the building, and Seth head poking out the TARDIS door, just looks at the Doctor and just yells, "Burn it down!" and just slams the door. He don't want any part of it. That would be super entertaining. I don't think I could come up with a better answer. That was fantastic. Seth freaking Rollins. I am here. And you know what? With the injuries he has been sustaining, I'm sure he's taking an extensive time off. Because it didn't like he could go at all on night 2 of WrestleMania. I would love to see that. I'm going to take this. I'm going to clip this part of the show. I'm going to share it to social media, and I'm going to tag Disney. I'm going to tag the BBC. I'm going to tag Seth Rollins, and I'm going to do it. I'm going to try to build a campaign for Seth Rollins to be a guest companion for a Doctor Who Christmas episode, because that would be great.
Oh, it certainly would. Apparently Seth's going to be in Captain America 4 as well. I've seen photos.
I know he was there for filming. I heard his scenes got cut, though, so I don't know if he's actually going to be in it. But I did hear a rumor, and just a rumor, that his scenes got cut from the Captain America movie.
I hope he's in it. If not, I hope he appears somewhere else.
I hope he does too, because he's got a lot of talent, and he has great charisma, great presence. I would really like to see him spread his wings out a little bit more into the Hollywood world, and kind of follow more of Rock's path. All right, so last question I have for Josh, as he has been so gracious with his time. We're going to end the show on the pitch. So what I would like you to do is take DC characters and put them into a lineup for our mighty Reds, the Manchester United. So your favorite lineup, your favorite style. So if you're running 2 strikers, if you're running 1 striker, whatever style of football you prefer to play, and then give me your positions. Who's your striker? Who are your center backs? Who are your middies? Who's your goalkeeper?
Well, I play obviously a lot of Football Manager, as I mentioned earlier, and I play a 4-2-3-1. I have the two in midfield, and then the attacking midfielder and the wingers sort of push further up the field.
Yeah.
Goalkeeper, I'm going to have to go with... Can I go with villains as well?
Yeah, anybody in DC, any character.
Clayface in goal, because then he could just fill up the goal. Nobody's getting through him.
That makes sense. Okay.
Left back, you need someone quick. I'll go Barry Allen / for left back.
Okay.
Right back, I'm going to go with... Who at right back? I'm going to go with Green Arrow at right back.
Okay.
He's got that eye for a good ball, so he can put it up the field from the back line.
He's not going to miss.
No, 2 centre backs, so we'll have Aquaman and Dr. Fate.
Ooh, okay.
Calm-headed Dr. Fate, and then Aquaman, who will just tear through anyone. My midfield 2. This is so much difficult than I thought it would be. Defensive midfielder, I go with Cyborg. He's got a footballing background. It might not be English football, it's American football, but...
Hey, if it works for Ted Lasso.
Yeah, exactly. So I'll have Victor Stone, Cyborg, as my defensive midfielder. My box-to-box, I'm going to need to be... I'll go with Ares.
Ares, okay.
I feel like Ares could match stamina with almost everyone there. Well, if not exceed them, being a god. My right wing, to put pace on the right-hand side, I'm going to go with Wally West. I've got 2 flashes on the pitch now.
Hey, why not?
Might seem like cheating.
They're there, so might as well use them.
My attacking midfielder, the central one, will be Batman.
And that way he can see everything and
he'd be
lead
my
the
captain.
attack.
Yeah, he'd be my captain. He'd be the one to sort of dish out the orders and say, look, this is where you need to go, now get a move on.
Yeah, that's what he does.
My left wing would be... Because I've already got Barry as a left back to produce the speed on that side, so I'm going to need someone with a little bit more technical skill on the left. I'm going to go with Nightwing. Nightwing on the left.
Nightwing, okay. I was going to make a suggestion. I would consider, if you're looking for technical skill on the left wing, I would actually lean more towards like Mr. Terrific.
That's not a bad shout. I could have also gone with Plastic Man and goal instead of Clayface, but Clayface just fits.
I think Clayface makes more sense because, plus Plastic Man's going to be distracted. He's going to be distracted by cheerleaders, women in the stands. he's all over the place. Clayface, he's a little bit more focused, and he'll do what Batman says, unlike Plastic Man.
Yeah, Plastic Man, like that scene where he was the chair in the Injustice animated one.
Or the pages where he was it Big Barter's dress? He was somebody's dress. I forget.
Yeah,
I forget which one's dress he was. But
Plastic Man doesn't really fit. So yeah, I think I'll go with Nightwing on the left and have Superman up top because any headers that go too high will just fly up and catch them.
That makes sense.
So that's
11. That's your team. I like it. Who would manage? Who in the DC universe would manage this team?
I have a feeling that Alfred comes to mind. Alfred the butler coming in and using his technical brain.
Okay, Alfred Pennyworth is a manager. I like it.
It looks like a good lineup.
It does. I like that. I'm feeling it. I'm definitely feeling it. And it makes sense. everybody you picked for the reasons makes a whole lot of sense. Nice. Well, I appreciate you participating in that. And listeners, that's going to be it for this episode of the original Jeek Podcast that we made to bless your ear balls. Special thanks again to our wonderful guest, Josh Phoenix. Definitely take a look at his, follow him on social media to keep up with what he's doing and the announcement he has on the Justice League audio drama he is writing, so you can keep up with him, keep up with what he's writing, and hopefully be there and ready to press play when episode 1 of his series drops. And as always, I am your host, RockinMrMagic. I want to thank all of you Jeeks for continuing to listen and support this show. And we could not do this show without you who continue to rate and review the show and share it on your social media. So please continue to do so. If you haven't found the show before and you want to subscribe, we're on Apple, Spotify, Castbox, and others. And if you can't find the show on your podcasting app of choice, let us know at jeeknation@gmail.com or message us on Facebook at Jeek Nation. And until next time, peace.
Ready to make an entrance, so backward cut. Come on, cut for me.
Oh, yeah. Whoa, slow down. Whoa, speed up.
This is DJ What, and you're listening to the original Jeek Podcast.